we had a client several years ago who suffered a really horrific loss when they found out that their baby at about 39 weeks had passed away. And it was just, as you can imagine, heart-wrenching for this couple. This was their first baby. The baby's death was due to medical malpractice, and long story short, we were able to represent them for several years, and on the eve of trial, we were able to settle that case. But that wasn't the end of our representation, right? Because that situation was pretty unique, but because of the medical malpractice, this particular client was unable to carry children again. She could not carry any of her biological children again due to this negligence.
Yeah, and I remember that one of the issues that the client was having was that after the loss and while the case was pending, they were trying to find a surrogate to carry a child because they desperately wanted to have a child, and they were perfectly capable of having a child. She just couldn't carry the child because her body would develop an immune response and attack it due to the malpractice that occurred. And so they had been trying to find a surrogate to carry their child for them, and they had gotten right up to the point where someone was agreeing to do it, and that for various reasons it kept falling through, and that happened over and over and over again for them, which was kind of compounding the heartache that they were experiencing.
So I'm the oldest of 5 kids, but I have 2 sisters, and I talked to my sisters a lot, and they knew that I was preparing for a pretty heavy trial, and I was able to tell them just on the eve of trial that we were able to resolve the case. And so there was somewhat of that burden or that weightiness that was being lifted because we were able to get a good resolution for the clients. But at the same time, I was still, nevertheless, she still had this heavy loss of her child and her ability to carry another baby. And so as I'm talking to my sisters about it and just, letting them know kind of the heaviness that I was feeling, my little sister, the next day, she kind of sent me a text and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about this sweet family, and I really would like to offer to be a surrogate for them." So when I read her text, I thought, what, are you serious? My sister at the time, she had 4 little kids. Her husband's a doctor, she's a nurse, and she has 4 little babies. And so I kind of just thought, well, she's just, being kind of overcome by emotion by how tragic this is. But she said, would you please connect me with them, see if they would talk to me. So I did. I reached out to my client and kind of explained the situation and said, can I put you all in touch with one another? And so a really long story made short, I did connect the 2 of them, and about a year later, my sister gave birth to their baby, and she was able to carry their baby. It was just one of the most remarkable things I've ever been a part of. It's just been a really great experience, and one of the most crazy ways where I've seen our help to a client extend past litigation, extend past trial, and be something that really does kind of step in and help them.
What was so crazy about that, I remember when you got the text, and it was the morning after, I think it was the morning after we settled the case, and yeah. I had my settlement blues. I was so ready to try the case, and it was a Saturday morning, and the trial was set to start on Monday. And you sit there, and I'm always filled with regret when I settle a case, because I get to the point where I am so eager to try it, and I'm not involved in settlement negotiations because I want to keep my edge. I want to be ready. I want nothing more than to try the case. And I remember sitting there kind of dealing with all those emotions and feeling sad. And then you got that text, and I just remember, boom, I just started sobbing. It's tough to think about. It's not that it's tough to think about now. It's just beautiful. It's just one of those things where it was just a really awesome thing, and it felt like, okay, we're part of something here that's much bigger than us, and it's not about me getting an opportunity to go into the courtroom here. It was that next level, and it was just a tremendous thing.
Yeah, And it's something that we could have never written ourselves, right? I would have never started soliciting my sisters or friends to step in and help in a situation like that. It seemed too big for something that we could do as just her attorneys. But, you know, you never know, right? You never know what story's being written. And it was just a super cool experience to be able to play a really small part in this family's story.
All the credit to your sister, because of course, when she's pregnant and when she's really showing, it's during the quarantine period of COVID, and so no one knew.
And it was, you know, that was the big thing, is how is she going to answer all these questions? She's got 4 little kids, and then she's going to have to explain that she's carrying a baby, but it's not hers. And we kind of laughed about all the awkward conversations she was going to have. But yes, the embryo was transferred like 2 weeks before COVID. And so her entire pregnancy was spent during quarantine when nobody really saw anybody. So it was just really an incredible experience.